everyone entered the meeting? Has everybody entered the meeting? I'm not going.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the new Town of Gravenhurst Council Chambers. I'm happy to welcome you all in person and virtually to the new chambers. Those of you who have sat in the chambers over the past 20 years knew it was time to modernize the space. We needed to enhance our ability to connect virtually with our community members near and far. The council chambers were closed at the end of September 2023, and opening back today at Town Hall, we've been able to accomplish the following. There's been an installation of the newly designed council chambers table with additional space, power, and connectivity. The table shape was reconfigured to foster discussion and debate amongst councillors. Hardwire staff tables with proper electrical and microphone units. These tables were created, and I love this, by repurposing the previous council chambers table. In the chambers, there are 4 large screens and 8 speakers, ensuring all of those who are in the room can hear and see all of council proceedings. The 7 rotating cameras will appropriately capture the debate and discussions of council over our live stream feed. Installed software to allow virtual participation, electronic voting, and enhanced visuals of agenda materials. With the space reconfigured, there are now 30 additional in-person seats with clear sight lines to the council table and to the screens. Many hands have been involved in this project, and I'd like to highlight some of the companies that provided services for this project. Solotech, AV equipment, TVs, cameras, speakers, installation, and electrical work. MVI software program to enhance the performance, production, and functionality of the space. Rock, paper, scissors designed and built the new council chambers table using reclaimed wood. A project wouldn't be success without the many staff members who played a role in building this room, as well as supporting council and the community in our transition. Thank you to the infrastructure team, Andrew Stacey, Rob Funston, and John Franklin, who coordinated contractors, oversaw procurement, and championed the modernization of this space. The Recreation Arts and Culture team, Shauna Patterson, Kelly Hamilton, Martin Green, Kim Clement, and Derek Den for rearranging our other community spaces, which we hope to soon forget, to host our council meetings since October. And of course, the Legislative Services team, specifically Jonathan Gilston and our clerk, Kayla Thibault, for taking on the role of production staff to run the sophisticated AV system that is transforming our meeting access and transparency. I am pleased to sit here with all of you today and host our first official council meeting in this space. Thank you to all of those who have joined us in person today or are watching us on our live YouTube stream. The system is new and we have a lot to learn, so please be patient with be patient with us and with each other as we go through today's meeting. And with that, let's get started. It is moved by Councillor Strength and seconded by Councillor Jorgensen. Be it resolved that the Committee of the Whole agenda of February 13th, 2024 be approved as amended to remove new business item number 1, report number LEG 2024-2, hybrid council meeting policy, and that report number LEG 2024-02 return to the Committee of the Whole meeting after a few cycles. Councillor Strength, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You just said it. This is all very new, and I think that it's premature of us to be discussing any new procedures before we actually get our feet wet. So I would like to see this report pushed perhaps a few cycles away before we start discussing how we incorporate it into general business. Thank you.
Councillor Jorgensen, would you like to speak to it as a seconder?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I echo the comments of my colleague, Councillor Strength there. Having been part of, I know through our Committee of Adjustment testing and whatnot, we still want to try out some the remote capabilities. So I think we've got time to get this under our belt and make sure that we're comfortable with the remote experience as well. So I think that's why it would be wise to put this off.
Councillor, are there any other questions or comments about this amendment to the agenda? Okay. First vote. All in favor?
You can do it. Here we go.
Great, thank you. Yeah, yes, so that carried. I think we all saw it. Thank you. I'm going to take some getting used to this, so. Now, Council, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest today? Okay, I'm seeing none. Councillor Robinson, if you could read the land acknowledgement statement.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We would like to begin today's meeting by acknowledging the First Peoples who, for thousands of years before us, were and are still the keepers and caretakers of this land, where we now live and work, and in particular the Chippewas of Rama, Wata, Mohawk First Nations, and the Moon River Métis. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. We recognize all the generations of Indigenous people and their historic connection to this place, and we are grateful for the opportunity to gather here at this time.
Thank you. Now, it is my great pleasure to invite the Winter Carnival Working Group to discuss the button design winner with us today.
Thank you very much, Council and Mayor, for having me here to speak today. First of all, I need to start with a really big thank you to all of our working group members. I've been in this job since November, so I would be lost without the group in supporting me in this really exciting winter carnival we have coming up. So we do have Michelle and Joe and Sandy and Mal here as well. So if we can just give them a big round of applause to thank them for helping us. A few other quick thank yous. One is to our volunteers. We've got over 20 volunteers, a lot coming from the high school who are coming out to support this weekend. And also thank you very much to our many sponsors, to which this would not happen without your money contributions. I want to let you know a few things about Winter Carnival coming up. So one is that we have a lot of our old favorites. Certainly the Winter Carnival, I can tell, has a great space in people's hearts. So we have got to keep some of those favorites coming back. So it does have Ignite this Thursday. Friday is opening ceremonies. And we've got donut eating. We've got Polar Dip coming back. So lots of your favorites to look forward to. Something I want to highlight is some of the new things that we have this year as well, that the working group has been working tirelessly to kind of upgrade the carnival a little bit. So on Saturday, we have Skokie's Downtown Carnival. We'll have lots more food trucks this year, live music in the opera at the warming station, as well as some brave performers who will be performing outside in front of the Opera House. And we have a lot more vendors, so you can do some shopping this year. Then we have on Sunday, Skokie's Gull Lake Carnival. And Skokie's Funland is getting a bit of an upgrade with a trackless train that lots of people are excited about, including my son. We've got some life-size games like hockey and town stories as well. So lots of new things to come out and see, as well as some of our favorite ones. A little fun fact about Skokie for you. I hope everybody remembers that Skokie is an otter. It can be hard to tell sometimes what he is, but he is an otter. And I found out that he was created about 54 years ago when the carnival started. And he was created by the most creative people that I know on the planet, children. So it was an elementary school that started Skokie, and it was part of a coloring competition that went out. this tradition of the coloring contest has been kept up. And this year, we have another incredibly talented artist whose artwork will be on the button, thousands of buttons that go out to everyone who comes to the Winter Carnival. So, as my last thing here, I would like to invite up Oakland Shell, who is the winner of the button contest, and I will present her with her beautiful artwork, and we can give her a round of applause. So, Oakland, come on up. Thank you very much. Great job. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Oakland. You did a great job, and we want to recognize that there were lots of submissions, but yours really stood out. So thank you very much for coming today and showing off your great talent. So, and thank you for the deputation. Does anyone have any questions for the deputation? Okay, great. Councillor Cairns?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, I just want to say Winter Carnival is going to be a great lot of fun. And as I have done in the past, I would always encourage you to join in and participate. One of the events that is near to my heart is the Polar Dip, and I have done it. And so I would like to say, whoever would like to join us in doing the Polar Dip, it has been changed to Sunday this year. I'd love to have someone join me. I'm almost thinking I might do it again. So anyways, I just want to say congratulations again to Oakland. Thank you very much for your design, and the buttons are great, so thank you.
I think that's probably worth the price of admission right there. Councillor Cairns jump in the freezing water. Okay, so thank you. We next have our deputation, Rusty Draper. You'd like to come up? And we have a new technology, and we're going to use it, I think, for the first time. And Ms. Thibault is going to help me with that. Great. Okay, so here we go. Activate. Okay, so we're going to start the timer off, and it's going. So go ahead, Mr.
Mayor
Draper.
Lorenz and council members, I want to thank you for the opportunity that you've granted me today to discuss a matter that I believe is long overdue. I'm speaking of giving the Sloan family the recognition that they duly deserve. I feel it's only proper to start by introducing two incredible men who I feel have been neglected by former councils for about 3 generations. Now, my strong desire today is for this mayor and council to change the oversight of earlier town leaders. I want to make it clear that not for one moment do I think earlier councils were intentional in their failure to memorialize the Sloan family, but I did, in a sense, kind of believe that there was an injustice. When I say an injustice, it's a sense of forgetting the enormous contribution that this father and son made to this community. Let me start by introducing you to a photo here of Mr. Archie Sloan. And on this side is a face that will be more familiar to a lot of people today, and that's Gordon Sloan. These men, now of course that picture of Archie is not the best of quality, but let me remind you that these men, father and son, were of exceptional quality and so highly esteemed by all who proudly call Gravenhurst home. At my age, I don't seem to shock a whole lot anymore. That is until I read an old Gravenhurst News article that was written 53 years ago by Ed Johns, who was a well-respected journalist back those days. And I believe that each of you have been given a copy of that article well in advance of today's meeting. Upon completion of reading this most revealing article, I found myself both bewildered and maybe to a degree even angered. For the sake of making my case today, I'm going to use Dr. Norman Bethune as my example. Now, without question, the doctor was incredibly skilled surgeon who saved literally thousands of lives in his lifetime. Most of his work, as we know, was in communist China, but then, of course, Bethune himself became a communist long before he left Canada. Now, as wonderful as his work was, I wondered to myself, what did he do for Gravenhurst while he was alive? Not much that I could find. Yes, the famed doctor was born here, but he vacated the community while still a teenager. Now, I will grant you this, that since his death, the town of Gravenhurst has greatly benefited from the many Chinese friends who come to pay homage to their hero, and all we can say to that is it's most commendable. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not here to defame the great work of Dr. Bethune. The only reason that I bring this to your attention is to draw a verbal picture in your minds of a set of scales and how unbalanced those scales actually are in favor of the young lad who left town as a teenager. My direct purpose here today is to measure the contribution of these two parties, meaning the Sloan family and Dr. Bethune, and it seems that the Sloans, they came up on the bottom part of the totem pole. Now let's examine the contribution of father and son. It was March the 20th, 1906. Archie Sloan was sworn in as police chief, and as many of you know, he was the only one on the police force. Archie's description, his job description, was that, well, it could take your breath away. As the only law enforcement officer back in the early days of our town's history, Chief Sloan was presented with a myriad of harrowing encounters. But policing our town was not the end of Archie's job description. Town council, way back then, expected so much more from this well-loved and respected man with just a few extra duties. Besides being the chief of police, they made him the truant officer, the town's assessor. Oh yes, he had to ring the town bell at 7 o'clock every morning, 12 noon, 1 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and then there was the curfew bell at 9 at night. Now, since the fire hall, and many of us can remember this, the fire hall was adjacent to the jail, it was expected that Archie be a volunteer firefighter, especially since he was one of few who actually knew how to operate the steam-powered fire truck. Let me not forget just one more responsibility that town. Whenever the roads were in need of repair, you could find Archie standing behind a grader, guiding a team of horses, leveling off the surface of all the roads. Now, with all of these stressful duties, Chief Sloan maintained a deep devotion to his faith in Christ. Archie was a Sunday school superintendent for 25 years. Understandably, with this heavy workload, he wisely knew that the time had come to resign from this position, a most cruel workload. And I believe he resigned for health reasons. Knowing that he still had to make a living, Archie and his wife purchased the Main Street property known today as 155 Muskoka Road. There he opened an ice cream parlor and a confectionery. And because of the respect and love that townspeople had for him, it became an instant success. Soon, it became a full-fledged restaurant. Now, each of you on today's council, you are men and women who are obviously much loved and trusted by the people of Gravenhurst to hold the offices that you now have. But Archie was loved and trusted as well, so much so that he was persuaded 2 times to run as mayor. And he served from 1915 to, I think, 1919, and then I think it was 1922 to 24. Archie died in 1928 at the age of 82. And the highly touted restaurant was gifted to his son, Gordon, that many of us here will remember. I can almost hear the talk around town. Would the restaurant really survive under newer and younger management? Boy, did it ever survive. Gordon Sloan was a born leader. It was Gordon that really made Sloan's restaurant internationally famous. He was meticulous in the hiring of his staff. He made sure that the food was as delicious as the picture on the menu. And who will ever forget Mrs. Orton's blueberry pie? Gordon was Mr. Personality, and much could be said about this amazing man. He also had a phenomenal memory. He could remember names just like that. And people kind of hang on to something like that, don't they? They love when people can recall a name even after a time of absence. Mary Lorenz and your council, Gordon and Dora Sloan. They had 3 children, John, Malcolm, and sweet Janet, who we just buried a couple of years ago. There's only one Sloan remaining from the 2 that I've been concentrating on today, and that's Archie and Gordon. Only one, and that is John Gordon Sloan, a retired United Church minister. I just had a visit with him moments before coming here today. He's now 88 years of age, and may I say, his health is of great concern. With all these stressful duties that Archie had, we have to stand up and admire such an individual. But he passed on, the genes passed on to another generation. The Sloan family, while John Gordon Sloan is still with us, what a way to leave this earth, knowing that the town of Gravenhurst has remembered all that the Sloans have given us. It's time now for this council to right a wrong, and this council has the opportunity to do that. I'm asking you today, in closing, to put a name on the property at the corner of First and Harvey Streets. I can picture it. The Sloan Building. This, of course, is located where the fire hall is today, and the other half occupied by the OPP. Do you know why this location is the right one? Just think of it. This building is only steps away from the original police station and jail, and the fire hall, which was, as you know, on the corner of First Street and Brock Street. That's where Archie Sloan gave his blood, sweat, and tears and served so diligently. The location where he started teaching his family and others the importance of giving back to your community. Please, I ask council to finally give the Sloan family the recognition they so highly deserve. Mayor Lorenz and your council, I thank you for granting me this time today.
Thank you for that presentation. Very interesting about local family. I do know that this has been brought to the Heritage Committee So I will throw it to Councillor Jorgensen, who is on the Heritage Committee, to sort of give us the rundown there. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, this did come, not that specific request, but some recognition of the Sloan family came before the Heritage Committee, and I can tell you that the Heritage Committee would like to see something happen, and they have put this in the work plan that we're working on to present to council for approval. And through that process, I think we can make a recommendation after they have a look at this project, perhaps, or another way, perhaps, of recognizing the Sloan family. There was a variety of things talked about at the Heritage Committee, including, everything from street naming to plaque and that type of thing as well. So I think this is the first, personally, I've heard of the idea of renaming the building, but the Heritage Committee will definitely be reviewing that and coming up with a recommendation for council.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Johnston, did you have a question for the deputant? So I actually have to click the button. So once you click it, then you're turning yourself off. Just so.
Turn myself.
Okay, great. There you go.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just for the record, I don't have a question, I just have a comment, if that's in order.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you, through you. I just want to tell the speaker that how much I appreciated his presentation, and I couldn't agree more. And I think it's rather fitting that the presentation was delivered in the iconic voice of Mr. Draper. I miss that voice. And if, as we often do, if this municipality wanted to be on the leading edge of something, I think we should consider having an official voice for presentations, and it should be Mr. Draper. Thank you so much, Mr. Draper, for being here, and wonderfully said. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. I bet you didn't know this was a job interview as well. So, Council, are there any other questions? Councillor Cairns?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I'm so glad for the presentation. Means a lot to me. My family goes back as we're friends forever and ever with my family. But I have to say, and I'm thanking you for mentioning the blueberry pies. And if anybody has the recipe, I would certainly love to have it, because they did make the best blueberry pies. And every time we came up to the cottage when we were little, it was first stop for my dad was get those blueberry pies. So the Sloans have made a big impact. In fact, the new restaurant that's there, the Old Mill, in their location, I still refer to it as Sloan's, and people are like, oh, sorry, the Old Mill, because it's always been Sloan's to our family. So thank you very much for that presentation and bringing it forward to our council. And I'm certainly there'll be some discussion at the Heritage Committee, and they'll bring forward something for us. Thank you.
Oh, Mr. Draper, because of the sound system, the people who are on Zoom or YouTube wouldn't be able to hear you. So if you could come back over to the microphone. We're all learning
Thank you
here.
very
So
much. I would just like to close in saying this, that I would really like you to expedite this thing, or the suggestion, simply for the sake of John Gordon Sloan. He really is an ill man and 88 years of age, and so I just want to leave you with that. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks again for that walk down memory lane. I think we all learned something today about the Sloan family. So is there anything else for anyone? Okay, well, thank you. So that takes us out of our deputations and moving along to the consent agenda. It is moved by Councillor Johnston, second by Councillor Jorgensen. Be it resolved that the following consent agenda items be approved. Minutes, Gravenhurst Public Library Board, November 9th, 2023. Minutes, Municipal Heritage Committee, November 14th, 2023. Minutes, Accessibility Advisory Committee, November 16th, 2023. Minutes, Gravenhurst Public Library Board, December 14th, 2023. Report amending of licensing and control of dogs bylaw, number 2018-26. And report amendment to Schedule A of the Administrative Monetary Penalty Bylaw, number 2022-103. Council, is there anybody who'd like to pull anything from that list? Okay. Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm still looking up. Councillor Morphy?
Thank you, through you. There's just a typo on the Sloan's name on the Heritage Report, page 10. It's spelled S-O-L-A-N. I just hope we could get that corrected. It's really minor, but since we are talking about Mr. Sloan, might as well have his name spelled right. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, we're going to approve the minutes? No. Oh, we're going to approve, yeah, we're going to approve the consent agenda. So, cast your votes. And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, it is moved by Councillor Strength, seconded by Councillor Cairns. Be it resolved that report number DEV 2024-12, Ontario Resource Centre for Climate Change Adaptation, Staff Capacity Program be received for information, and that the Director of Development Services be delegated authority to enter into an agreement with ICLEI, Canada Ontario Resource Centre for Climate Adaptation for their Staff Capacity Program as outlined in this report. Director Halford.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I would just have a brief presentation for Committee of the Whole today. So the report that's before you today outlines the work that has been undertaken to date on climate adaptation actions and some steps for this year. So as you'll recall, the Climate Change Adaptation Plan was approved by this council in January of last year. And we set to work pretty immediately after that to start implementing a number of the action items from that plan. So attached to the staff report that's in the agenda package outlines about 10 action items that we have either completed or made good headway on. So there's a table attached that you can review. We also, staff have also worked on we sat as a representative on the district-wide, community-wide adaptation plan, and there were a number of meetings of that group, and that plan is well underway. And also, as you'll recall, we developed a RFP for a joint project with the other area municipalities in Muskoka to work towards the completion of a greenhouse gas inventory and mitigation plan for each of our corporations. So that work, I'm excited to say, is well underway. We have a project update meeting in a couple weeks, and the consultant has been making a lot of headway on that, so that's great. So when we, towards the end of last year, in I think it was November, one of the trade emails that I get regarding climate change action and items that are available to help municipalities implement actions. One of the opportunities that arose was a program through ICLEI, which is the ICLEI that's outlined in the staff report, and the Ontario Resource Centre for Climate Action or Adaptation. And what it is, it's not a funding program, it's a staff time program, which is exactly what we need to help get the projects off the ground. We know what we need to do, we just need some staff time to help do it. So this project, we were successful in obtaining 560 hours of ICLEI's time, so it's one staff person for the whole year, to help the 5 area municipalities that developed an adaptation plan together to, there's 5 things we want to get done this year. We want to compile the adaptation action items from each of the area municipalities, all the ones that are very similar. We want to prioritize our action items for each of the municipalities and identify next steps, and provide support in the project management and execution of a number of quick win adaptation actions. So some low hanging fruit. Let's get some of those projects done this year. We also want to examine synergies and feasibility of the co-benefits of implementing adaptation action that also support a mitigation action. And lastly, we want to create an action item execution roadmap, a fancy way of saying, how do we keep going after this year? And how do we fund and prioritize the next steps? May involve, a suggestion of staff resourcing or a shared resource, something along those lines. So it's really just helping us have a project manager for this important work. As you know, it's something on the side of my desk that I work on, and it's also something that every senior leader and management team prioritizes in our work. But putting our mind to actually getting the work done on this is something that isn't necessarily top of mind all of the time. So we'd really like to be able to have a plan going forward. So that's the summary of the report. I did want to note that in the staff report it mentions that we have to provide 10% of that 560. It's actually 15%. I misquoted the requirements. So it's actually 15.6 hours of my time over the next year. So I think I can handle that towards this agreement. And I'm not going to be the project leader on this. The director of planning from Lake of Bays is the project leader. As you'll recall, I'm the project leader on the greenhouse gas project in our area municipal band of merry folk. So we're sharing it around. So it's a really good example of us all working together and trying to do more with less and move the yardsticks forward on a climate change initiatives. So I think I'll leave it there, and I'm happy to answer any questions that committee may have.
Thank you, Director Halford. Are there any questions for Director Halford? Councillor Jorgensen, you
Push the button, don't
yeah.
put your hand up, yes.
you got there.
We'll get used to it.
You beat him to it. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, through your worship. I'm just, I know there's a lot of people very, watching this file, if you will, very closely in the community, and I'm wondering, I hope that they don't get the impression that, we're not doing anything until we do all this stuff and get a plan together. So I'm wondering, are we tracking, our efforts towards climate change adaptation as we, do different projects perhaps in the infrastructure realm or whatever already, so that we can kind of build a list of here's all the things we've done, so that the public can be made aware of what those actions are, despite the putting together the plan in much more detail.
Director Halford?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to the councillor. Yeah, absolutely. So the Regional Climate Change Adaptation Plan, the RECAP, has a really good summary of all of the projects that have happened to date with a climate change focus, because before we had the mandate to move forward on this, there were still lots of things that we were completing as staff under your direction. So there is a summary included in that. I am keeping track of all of the action items that are listed in the recap and writing down beside them, keeping an active list of all the actions that we are completing. Our staff reports include a section about climate change and anecdotal, or if we can, actual hard numbers in terms of climate impact of the decisions of those reports. And of course, Mr. Stacy, being the infrastructure portfolio, does work every day from a climate change perspective, and I'm sure he is able to speak to that. But I think that our reports that come to you summarize that on a monthly basis, and we are keeping track of it. And I would like to note also the revised website that we're working on, that was in the budget for this year, is going to have an entire page on environmental initiatives and eco actions. So we'll be able to better communicate with the public on what it is we are doing and ways that they can get involved.
Councillor Johnston?
Don't push it.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, it behooves me, otherwise my colleague will call me up on this, to make some very positive comments to you, Director Halford. I just want to express my appreciation for all that you and your team and the rest of the professional team has done. The work that was identified as having been done or in progress is very impressive. I have a question coming up, but my gratitude is even more full because what you just said about the website is fantastic news. Public engagement, as we all know, is so extremely important, especially in this file. So thank you for all that you've done. My question simply is that attachment B is quite weighty, and I wondered, for my own purpose and perhaps those that are listening, could you just give a very, very brief executive summary in practical terms, Director Halford, about what that does, what that attachment B is saying in practical terms? Thank you.
Through you, Your Worship, to the councillor. Yeah, so it identifies that we want to work together with the other area municipalities and come up with a way to make action and to implement these recommendations, because there's, 40 or more action items that we need to do, and we need to prioritize them so that we can get the best bang for our buck. So there's 5 key items. So it's compiling those adaptation action items, prioritizing which ones are most important, and identifying some quick wins for us. And actually, so by the end of this year, we can tell you these are the low-hanging fruit that we were able to deliver on, to try and work on projects that highlight not just adaptation, because I know a lot of people want to focus on mitigation, but adaptation is equally as important. But this will hopefully, we'll be able to identify some co-benefits on some of these projects. And then I think the most important part is coming up with that, actually, the roadmap of us going forward and how we will resource, fund, and prioritize the next steps. The District of Muskoka has 1 or 2 and potentially more staff to help with climate change mitigation and adaptation, and the area municipalities are somewhat newer to having this role here. So we want to figure out how we can, we all have full-time jobs already, so we want to think about how we can make the best use of the staff we have, or if that means sharing an additional staff person or a contract or something like that to help us move forward. But so that's how, in a nutshell, that's what the report says. So, yeah.
Councillor, is there any other questions for Director Halford? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Oh, jeez, okay. Cast your vote in support of the report. And that carries. We're going to have a creative writing contest as well to come up with the best saying to move the vote along. Feel free to bring forward your recommendations. So, with that, it is moved by Councillor Karen, second by Councillor Hunter. Be it resolved that report number INF 1 RE Musquash Road, major drainage improvements be received for information, that following the completion of Schedule B class environmental assessment, committee select alternatives A1, B1, C1, D1, and E, detailed within the report as the preferred method of addressing ongoing nuisance flooding. Director Stacy.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and Council, and good afternoon, community. Good afternoon, community. I am pleased to present with you today one step closer to addressing, as captured in the title there, nuisance flooding that has been observed on Musquash Road, Private, and McPherson Streets area. Some background, some context to how we got here today. In 2021, Council provided my department with some funds to review and evaluate the stormwater system holistically throughout the entire boundary of Gravenhurst. And through that assessment and through hydraulic modeling based on various storm events, what we found was we actually have quite a deficit in having infrastructure that's able to convey what it needs to convey. So it's all good climate savvy stuff. So through that exercise, we developed catchment boundaries, and then we looked at where do those catchment boundaries ultimately drain to. And one of the areas that we found was deficient was, again, the Musquash Road, Private Street, and McPherson areas. So we did a bunch of assessments, looked at the existing infrastructure there today, how does it work, how does it function, what's the inlet capacity, outlet capacity, all that good stuff, and came up with a design that what we feel is the best design given the application that it's being applied to, which is a very intensified urban area. So right now there's a bunch of ditches, there's undersized culverts, there's drainage channels through rear yards, not ideal for the environment they're in. So we've gone through, redesigned it, and now here we are today, which brought us through to a Schedule BEA. So in order to do this work, we have to go through this public process, which we did. And I'm pleased to say that we had no pushback from the community when we consulted with them. It's been about a 1.5 year process from beginning to end. And this is the ultimate decision that we feel is the best solution. Again, several options were looked at, a combination of ditches, small pipes, open ditches, and larger pipes. And we feel, again, at the end of the day, the best resolve for this is to put in pipes that are climate resilient for the next 75 years and don't impact the neighboring community. As far as project and how are we going to tackle this one, it is a substantive project. It will likely take us close to 3 years to fully complete. And subject to council's blessing today, the first order of business would be to start the detailed design, get the necessary easements that we need to build this thing, and go out to tender to see what the industry has come back with as far as cost. So I'll leave it at there. The report, I acknowledge, is very technically heavy, but I'll do my best to keep it high level should you have any questions.
Councillor Jorgensen.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to comment, first of all, that I know Committee of Adjustment severed some lots on Musquash several years ago. And I know the community at that time came out in full force. And one of the biggest issues was the stormwater management along Musquash Road. So I'm glad to see that that is being addressed. As you said, this is a pretty technically extensive presentation to us here, but I'm assuming that of all the alternatives, your recommendation of the A1, B1, all that is what you are recommending, and is that based on the impact or dollar value approach, or what was the main criteria for selecting the approach that you're proposing to us?
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Jorgensen, it wasn't dollar value. In fact, the one that we're recommending is probably the most expensive approach, but really it was in the interest of safety. for the community. If you can imagine, what's there today doesn't fit the bill as far as conveying the 26 hectares of area that's draining through it. So we looked at, again, open ditches, which were very steep, very wide, and backyards would likely need to be fenced off. We literally take up most of the backyard space that these communities right now are enjoying. So this, although it isn't the most invasive construction approach, it is intended to be the least impactful on the community for the long term. So that's how we arrived at this decision.
Councillor Jorgensen, did you have something else?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, because again, there's been a lot of new development on Musquash. I know there's some, a row of houses going in and some new townhomes and whatnot. And so is there an opportunity to use at least a portion of development charges to go towards this type of project? Is that something that would be appropriate use of development charges in the future for this area? And I would think that's probably directed to our director of whatever, Ross. Whatever, I forget your title, I'm sorry.
Okay. Would you like to address that?
Red. There. Now I'm ready. Thank you, through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Jorgensen. I would have to research that, but certainly that's my understanding that development charges could be collected for this specific purpose.
Mr. Lucas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to note that council does need to dig into a new development charge background study over the next year or so, and really you need to identify projects that development charges fund in those documents. So I think if that's the desire, council will have an opportunity to include that as part of the discussion in the background study.
Mr. Stacey, you had something to add?
Through your worship to Councillor Jorgensen, council may not be aware, but we have already started to put money away for this. So there's already roughly $2 million put together on the capital plan to start doing this work. So, which I believe was already identified in the capital budget binder of how we're going to fund this thing.
I don't see any more green bars on my screen. So, council, is there anything else that anyone would like to ask? I had a question. Is this something that we can, some of our bigger infrastructure projects, we go out looking for money for a grant. Is this qualify for a grant?
Through you, your worship, to you. Yes, it would certainly qualify itself for grant worthiness, and we'll keep an eye out if the opportunity arises for that.
Music to our ears. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to call the vote. And that carries. Thank you. Okay. I think I gave you the wrong one. Oops. Okay. It is moved by Councillor Johnston, second by Councillor Jorgensen. Be it resolved that report number INF 2024-02, RE Award of Gull award of Gull Lake Rotary Park tiered seating be received for information. That tender RFT 2023 INF 026 being the Gull Lake Rotary Park tiered seating tender be awarded to the lowest compliant bidder, Powcon, at the tendered price of $499,947, excluding provisional item NHST. And finally, that the Director of Infrastructure Services be authorized to sign and enter into the construction contract. Mr. Stacy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, roughly a year ago, the Rotary Club pitched to us an idea of building some tiered seating at Gull Lake Park. Since that time, the Rotary Club has been working very hard through their Rotary Rocks the Barge campaign to secure donations to pay for this project. And while they were gathering money, myself and our consulting engineers, Tatham Engineering, were working on a design, and we were back and forth with the Rotary Club to make sure that it met the tests of their vision. And I'm pleased to report that they've given us the green light to go ahead. So following a lengthy tendering period, which started roughly December 19th and closed on January 30th, we're now at the stage where we can award this project to a construction company, Powcon Construction. They've had fantastic references, this particular company having quite a landscaping component to their outfit. And so following those positive reference checks and getting the green light from the Rotary Club, I'm pleased to say we're going to be building some stadium seating at Gull Lake Park. So in relation specific to the project, following today, subject to council giving us approvals, we'll be proceeding to issuing a start work order, and construction is to start on March 18th with a project wrap up near the end of May, so that there's no impact to the event season at Gull Lake Park this year. So a good news story. So very thankful to the Rotary Club for their partnership with us, and I think it's an exciting thing. We don't normally get opportunities to do fun things like this. Not that pipes and bridges aren't fun, but this is one that will be a real impactful on the community. So thank you.
Thank you. Council, are there any questions? Okay, I see none. I'm just going to echo your comments that this is really very exciting project. It's nice to see that there were so many bids as well. I mean, I know sometimes there's a period of, it seems like there's been periods of time where there aren't a lot of bids to choose from. You sort of don't have much choice. So I think that was encouraging coming out of COVID to see some more people taking up the tender packages, so that's great. And again, thanks to our partners at Rotary. I think they're excited to get this project done, and they're a great partner at Rotary Gull Lake Park. So thank you to them, and thanks for getting this. Oh, we're going to go to Councillor Jorgensen.
Thank you, Your Worship. Put my hand up and I pushed the button. Just a thought that came to mind. Are we able to approve the material that is being installed at the site? You know, just from a aesthetics point of view, or how does the tender handle that? I'm just curious.
Through you, Worship, to Councillor Jorgensen, the tender document is very specific as far as the type of material to be used, and the bidder of choice has met all those tests as far as the type of material that we want.
Okay, so we are going to cast our votes. And that carries unanimously. That's great. Good news. Just to test the system, I think we're going to take we've got clocks on our, oh, yeah, 3:58. I'm going to say, can we come back at 4:05? Just check it out how the break works. Okay, welcome back. So we're moving into updates from council. Councillor Varney, you have something? Oh, just 1 second, one procedural quick question. Okay, just a quick procedural question. I guess there's no hiding these question and answer periods we have up here sometimes. So it is moved by Councillor Varney, second by Councillor Strength, whereas a constituent request has been received regarding parking options previously reserved for buses at the First and Harvey Street parking lot, and whereas due to amendments in Ontario Northland bus services, buses no longer require the reserved lot spaces, therefore be it resolved that administration be directed to research and report back on options for the conversion of designated bus parking to general parking at the First and Harvey Street parking lot. Councillor Varney, you'd like to speak to this?
Whoops, thank you. Thank you, Your Worship, and excuse me for being late today. Yes, this request came to me from Gravenhurst Plumbing and Electric. They have 40 employees, 25 fleet vehicles, and then 8 full-time workers in their office. They have very limited parking around their business, and there is a bus a designated bus stop on First Street that's been there for years, and that bus stop has not been used for a long time, and I guess a few people have parked in that area and have received tickets. So they finally, I guess, decided, okay, we need more parking space, so they came to me and asked me if I would bring this forward to council and see if we could have that bus sign for bus parking only removed and make it available for regular parking. As I say, there are 25 vehicles of the fleet, 40 employees, and 8 full-time in the office. So that's like 65 plus 8, whatever that is. That they need parking for. So thank you.
Councillor Strang, did you have anything to add?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As a neighbor to Gravenhurst Plumbing and Electric, I can attest that being there for 12-ish years, I believe, I think I've seen a bus park in the parking spot once. So it would clearly be better used as a vehicle parking spot, given that there's new businesses opened around in that area, and of course, the leading pharmacy in Gravenhurst. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Jorgensen.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just not clear. This is, are we talking about a parking lot or on the street? And I would just also note, Harvey Street is misspelled in this resolution. And as I think it honors a former mayor of the town, if I'm not mistaken. So we can get that corrected. But so just to be clear, this is not a lot as per the resolution. It's just on the street. Okay, thank you. I was trying to picture where the lot is at First and Harvey. So thank you.
Councillor Morphy.
Thank you through you, Madam Mayor. A question probably to Director Stacey. Is overnight parking allowed along this side of the street? Like if they're talking a fleet, are they going to Director Halford, are they able to just park there permanently? Thank you.
Director Halford.
Thank you very much.
You're good. Okay, let me try something here. No, try your button and then see. No. Okay, no, I don't, yeah.
Yeah, go to Andrew.
This is one of the technical difficulties that we need patience with, so we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, there we go. You can hear me now. And the question was, overnight parking. Through the mayor to the councillor, no, I don't believe this would be an area of overnight parking. However, especially in the winter. However, my understanding of the request is that, you know, when they come in to load up and go out, I believe they keep their vehicles at their homes. There's nowhere for them to keep them. So it would be more of a loading, unloading, you know, transitory kind of a thing. And it would be more for their staff that are in the office, the 8 staff. You know, more on-street parking during working hours, that kind of thing, while they're there. So that's my understanding of the request. Not overnight parking, no.
Councillor Varney, I'm going to let Christina Hunter have a say, and then we'll come back to you. Councillor Hunter?
That's okay.
Did I call you Christina?
That's okay.
Pardon me. Sorry, I'm just reading the list. Councillor Hunter, please.
That's okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you. My question is, how many parking spaces would this create?
Director Stacey?
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Hunter, 3 spots.
Councillor Varney?
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you. Yes, I guess what I was going to add was what has already been mentioned, is that it's the trucks for the business, as was stated, are probably taken home by the people that are using them. And it is mainly for the 8 full-time in the office. The rest of the vehicles, there's a parking lot behind Gravenhurst Plumbing and Electric that has space for maybe 10 fleet vehicles, but the rest, I believe, are taken home by the employees. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, I have a question, then, if I may. These will be public parking spots, though, right? Like first come, first serve. Okay, just wanted to be equitable, I guess. Councillor Jorgensen?
Thank you, Your Worship. And are they subject to the 3-hour parking limit in that area as well?
Through the mayor to the councillor, staff will report, if that's the direction, staff will report back on all the ins and outs of all of those aspects.
Okay, is there anything anyone would like to add? Anything further? I'll call the vote. Okay, and that carries. Thank you. Councillor Jorgensen, you're up. Update from Councillor about the Rural Ontario Municipal Association Conference.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I was pleased to attend the ROMA, or Rural Ontario Municipal Association Conference down in Toronto. And for those not familiar with it, it's fairly standard at these types of conferences. You have plenary sessions where everybody attends at once, and then you have breakout sessions or concurrent sessions that happen at the same time. And the particular plenary sessions that I found most interesting was when Lisa Thompson, who's the Minister of Agricultural and, what is it? OMAFRA. Minister of Agriculture, Rural Affairs, anyway. The big thing was that she was announcing that the opening of the Rural Economic Development Program intake which was going from January 21st to February 21st. Now, that's something that we have taken advantage of in the past, but I don't know that there's any projects perhaps that we are hoping to move forward with under that RED program. Of course, it's the Premier and the leaders of the other parties always speak at these events as well. Something else that the Roma itself presented its strategic plan for going forward, and as well, it's the opportunity to present the financials and whatnot at the AGM of Roma. So those were all the plenary sessions. The concurrent sessions, which are a little, smaller scale and a lot more question and answer, the sessions that I attended, the exploring solutions to housing in the rural context was, obviously all the municipalities share that problem of not enough housing in the rural municipalities. And I was pleased to say that, our initiative to move forward with our study that we're doing on housing needs was identified as the first step in solving this problem. And so it's nice to see that we're on the leading edge of that. I also attended economic development in local communities, which was a good session on how municipalities can really make a brand for themselves. That was one of the biggest takeaways from that. One of the other, as my laptop goes off here, a session that I found very interesting was that, of course, interested in my line of work was a session on cybersecurity. And through the LAS program, which is one of the agencies of AMO, which is the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, they offer a service for, you can basically subscribe to a service where if you do have a cybersecurity incident, then the team kicks in and they'll help you deal with that situation. And it's something that I think we need to look into through our relationship with the district. The nice thing is you can partner with other municipalities, or in our case, like through the district, to do that. So that's recognized as a really up-and-coming big issue. There's been a lot of cybersecurity breaches in hospitals and other municipalities. So it's something that I think we need to take a good look at. And another session was municipal lessons learned from with regard to energy projects. And of course, as the IESO is looking for more generation, and as we are well aware, the battery storage project that came to our community, those type of projects, there was some insights on, again, why the projects are needed and what's happened in other municipalities. The closing session I found particularly, this was another plenary, with Althea Raj, who many you may know as that she's a journalist and frequently seen on TV and whatnot. And she gave a very interesting discussion on the impact of polarization on public decision making and how that really does affect the tone, the nature of discussions in the community, and with the loss of a lot of our local news gathering organizations, things like that, it's creating quite a rift in the people who are on one side or another of an issue, and how we all get along when dealing with those. And so something that came through in that I felt is really important to bring forward is people look to us as elected officials to speak the truth. She gave examples of where that hasn't happened at different levels of government, and I think it's always important, it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we always do that we know that what we're saying is in fact the facts, because people are looking for elected officials to do just that. So I'll leave it at that, I think. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Councillor Jorgensen? All right, we're going to move on to Councillor Robinson. The watershed conference that was held on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I have some notes so I don't forget anything. So I attended the Muskoka Watershed Conference last Friday with my fellow councillors, Councillor Johnston, Councillor Jorgensen, and Councillor Cairns. The day started with speaker Dr. Norman Yan and his great talk about current trends in our environment. Many things are changing in the Muskoka environment. Good changes, threatening changes, causes, and solutions. Dr. Peter Sale was the next speaker with a great talk about why the status quo is inadequate for future environmental management. It is no longer effective. We need 20th century environmental management to manage the complex system. The next speaker was Jack Imhoff, I think I'm saying that right, who talked about the water cycle and why we need to consider the whole watershed. Followed by Dr. Vale, who talked about what does integrated water management mean. Integrated water management is a continuous and adaptive process of managing human activities in an ecosystem with a defined watershed. Kathleen Padulo, Environment Director of Chiefs of Ontario, talked about First Nation perspective on integrated watershed management in Muskoka. And the last speaker was Sandra Cook from the Canadian Water Network, who talked about different successful partnerships, long-term watershed council organizations, and how they work. The day ended with the panel of speakers. They were open for questions and answers. And my takeaway from the conference was, what are the next steps? Keep the conversation going, keep educating, and keep learning. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, are there any questions for Councillor Robinson? All right. So moving right along to my update. As you've heard today, we have Winter Carnival coming up, and we would like to take the opportunity, or I would like to take the opportunity to thank those of you who have been participating at on the committee and working hard towards, this weekend. We appreciate the council contributions as well as the people in the public, of course. So thank you to all of them and to staff as well. So I know that very often a lot of our staff go out and volunteer for all of these things in their spare time and get out and participate. So thank you to everyone. And the button design, as we talked about earlier, and there are several of these printed out. I think we can find them throughout the community. So make sure that you get your button, you go and participate and have some fun this weekend. So that's exciting. And then to wrap it up, you get a holiday on Monday, Family Day. So hope everybody has the opportunity to enjoy their time with their loved ones. Family, as we know, is so important. I wanted to add that I joined Councillor Jorgensen at Roma, and I went to some other sessions. We tried to trade off. I left the report to him, but I would also like to report that we had I think a very positive meeting with the Minister of Infrastructure, Kinga Sermon, and we had a great dialogue about the two properties in town that concern us all, the Muskoka Centre lands and as well as the Ontario Fire College. And we're hoping the minister is going to come up and have a look at them, in person, so she can understand just exactly how important these pieces of property are to us. So it was a really great connection to make, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn to say that it was a really positive meeting. And Mr. Lucas was there, of course, too, and District Chair Lehman was also at the meeting, so, but I think it was a productive meeting. And then, of course, I mean, the elephant in the room is the hospital. So we know that we're going to continue to listen to MAC roll out their proposal through the community engagement and sessions. I'm not sure if they're planning any more after last night's. We know that obviously the public has been very, vocal, and there's been some lively debate. I think there's been the opportunity for people to learn more about the service delivery proposal and share their views. And based on statements released last week, it sounds as though the conversation will be continuing and there is room for adjustment. And we'll watch those. And for my part, I have participated in some discussions with some local physicians as well as MAC with my fellow mayors and have others planned. So anything that I've heard in terms of questions or concerns have been forwarded. So any emails that I've had, I've shared them with the board, Maureen Miller and CEO Cheryl Harrison for their consideration as the proposal takes shape. And so from my point of view, it's my hope that our healthcare professionals can find some common ground and we're left with a model that delivers high quality care to the residents and visitors of Gravenhurst and the rest of the region. So stay tuned. I think we can expect to hear more as the story unfolds. And with that, I suppose I need an adjournment. It is moved by Councillor Varney, seconded by Councillor Strength. We will vote on an adjournment. Now moving right into council. It is moved by Councillor Karen, second by Councillor Hunter. Be it resolved that the council agenda as presented on February 13th, 2024 be approved as circulated. All in favor? Oh, yeah, all in favor, or vote. I know. That carries, thank you. Oops. Okay, it's moved by Councillor Johnston. Oh, are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest, council, on the council agenda? Seeing none, it is moved by Councillor Johnston, second by Councillor Jorgensen. Be it resolved that the council minutes from January 16th, 2024 be approved as circulated. And we'll vote on those. Me? I haven't. That carries, thank you. It's moved by Councillor Morphy, second by Councillor Robinson. Be it resolved that the Committee of the Whole minutes from January 16th, 2024 be adopted as circulated. And we'll vote on those. And that carries, thank you. Oops. It is moved by Councillor Strength, second by Councillor Cairns. Be it resolved that the following bylaws be read, passed, and engrossed into the bylaw book. Bylaw number 2024-13, amend Schedule A of Administrative Monetary Penalty Bylaw. And bylaw number 2024-14, amend bylaw 2018-26, licensing and control of dogs bylaw. Council, are there any questions? Okay, we'll call the vote on that. That carries, thank you. And is moved by Councillor Karen, second by Councillor Hunter. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-16 to confirm the council meeting held on February 13th, 2024 be passed. All in favor? Oh, vote, please. And that carries, thank you. Just before I adjourn, I did want to just say thanks for everybody's patience today. I think that went relatively smoothly as far as, I got some things to manage here and, like I said, figure out the language a little bit, but I think we'll get there. I have confidence in us. All right, so with that, I have a motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor Varney, second by Councillor Strength. And please vote. And that carries, and happy Valentine's Day, everyone.